Hello, Missouri City. I'm Lindsay Westmoreland. Welcome to this MCTV special presentation. I'll be talking with Mayor Robin Ellicott about the new Texas Parkway Cartwright Development Corridor Committee. Stay tuned. Hi, Mayor. Thanks for meeting up with us today. Today we're going to talk about the Texas Parkway Cartwright Corridor Development Committee. So can you tell us about this new committee that's coming to Missouri City?
Sure. So what the plan and the thought behind this was to create a committee that's going to comprise of citizens as well as staff, and then ultimately that it would come back to City Council to make that final push. Throughout the years, for me being on council even before, I've heard so many different times people talking about Texas Parkway corridor as well as Cartwright. We always talked about these things, but it just felt like nothing ever got pushed through. So as I'm getting into office, this was one of the opportunities that I thought, why not have the citizens' input? I think it's very critical that we involve the citizens, so this way that they can tell us what they think that, what they want to see on Texas Parkway, as well as Cartwright. So that was a whole concept behind it. That was a thought behind it, and getting the citizens as well as some committee members in there so they can kind of preview some of these plans that were coming through and see, how it would look on Texas Parkway.
So what's going to be citizens' role in the committee?
So here's how the process works. When we have developers that comes through, or we're inviting people to come in and take a look at the plans for Texas Parkway, mixed use retails and things like that, we're going to present all of that to this committee, which includes 7 citizens. They will come together as a team along with 2 council members with staff, and they would go through this plan, renderings and drawings, and kind of see what they think. And then ultimately, if they feel this is a good thing for the community, is a needed thing for Texas Parkway, then what we would do is we would bring those back to Planning and Zoning Commission, and then eventually to City Council. So there's always that citizens' input is part of this whole package.
So what is the process? We were going to talk about that. What's the process to get on the committee?
I've took the plan to create this committee to City Council. I shared with them my vision for this committee and the roles for this committee is going to be. So they gave a thumbs up saying, this sounds great, so let's push it forward. I used District A council member as well as District B because they both have a portion of Texas Parkway as well as Cartwright corridor on this piece. So they're going to be the council members over that area, whoever that's going to be. And then you have committee members who are coming, who are going to be invited from, they can go to the city's website and look at where the boards and commissions, where someone would apply for, and they can fill that out, and then they would email that to the city secretary's office is where that gets collected. And from there, myself, as well as the District A and District B council member, would filter through those applications. There are several questions on those that everyone can answer, and we'll go through that and we'll call people out for interview. And once that interview process is done, and then myself along with the other 2 council members, we'll make that appointment to that to those 7 individuals that will be on this committee. And they'll serve for 2 years. So this way, instead of 1 year, they have a 2 years, because some of these plans, as you can tell, once they come through, it takes a year plus to kind of come through that process to make it happen. So that's where why the length of term for 2 years is in place.
Okay. I've heard you mention that the 2 council members will be a part of the committee. So will citizens be working kind of side by side with those council members?
Sure. So city council members will be at every meeting.
Okay.
And they will have a voting power, which means that they can vote along with the citizens. One of the city council member for District A and B, either one of them will be the chair of that committee. And then the vice chair of that committee will be the citizen. One of the resident of that committee will be the citizen. Will be the vice chair. And then they'll combine together. They'll push, ideas through. And I want them to see all of this. I want them to look at this, these plans and these renderings and drawings, and get some input back to Planning and Zoning Commission as well as City Council as to what their ideas are. So it'll be comprised of 9 people, which are 2 council members along with 7. You have your 7 residents, part of that committee. And then what we plan on doing is, as an ad hoc member of that, would be the Planning and Zoning Chair. But it is without a voting power, right? So this way, anything that will be pushed from that committee, that will be going to Planning and Zoning Commission. So that individual already know what's going on or already are aware of what's happening.
What kind of person should apply?
Anyone. There are some regulations that we keep for all of the boards and commissions, right? So you have Planning and Zoning as well as Parks Board and other. So there's a generic kind of concept that's there, which you have to be 18, and you have to be a resident of Missouri City. It goes into details like that. So we haven't put anything forth in this that stopping anyone from doing so. But the idea is to have people that, either work and live on Texas Parkway or Cartwright, along with others that are, in our city. I feel people who are capable of looking at some of this and identifying what type of resources that we can bring into Texas Parkway. So I think it'll be a committee that will be interested by many, that will have an opportunity for so many people to apply. And then we'll consider those as we'll look into that. We'll make sure that those considerations are taken into place.
Can you give a couple more examples of some things that will come to this committee?
So, for example, today I don't have, I don't have an idea of what's going to be on that committee. And this committee is going to, I know us, City Council, along with the Economic Development Committee, we started to get some inputs on mixed use and retails and things like that for Texas Parkway along with Cartwright. So some of that is going to be presented to this committee first. So this way they kind of study this and kind of ask the right questions and all. And then from there, that will get pushed forward to the Planning and Zoning as well as council committees. I'm not going to promise HEB or anything like that to come here today, because that's not something that I can personally do. But as we invite, other vendors to look at Missouri City, look at Texas Parkway, look at Cartwright, and kind of see what can we do. So that's the hope and that's the goal of this committee. Another goal for me is not just looking at new things. There's been conversations about Texas Parkway, the existing buildings, the look of the buildings, how it looks. It looks old, and can we update those? And so we want to make sure that we're not just looking at this committee just to look at new, but also the existing businesses that we have on Texas Parkway as well as Cartwright, how we can get some of those buildings to look better, and hopefully invite or have other vendors to come in and saying that I want to use this space. Right now, I'm sure if you drive down on Texas Parkway, you'll find some of those locations are empty. Some a lot of storefronts are empty. So I think this committee is going to be engaged in a lot of things, not just looking at new, but also looking at what's existing that's there. As a committee, the opportunities are endless. It's just what's coming to us, and we want the citizens' input. I didn't want to sit here, drive the city council to make decisions one way, and then the citizens are not interested in that. right? So they're saying, well, we have something that came here, but I mean, it's no good to us. And that's why I believe this committee is very important to have their input. Because the last thing you want to do is put something on Texas Parkway just to say that you have something, but you want to make sure that it is what the citizens and what the residents on Texas Parkway and Cartwright wants. So throughout the years, we hear from City Council, we hear from people, especially during election time, what are we going to do with Texas Parkway? So with that goal in mind is, this is step one. This is not the final step. So this would be the first and foremost step to make sure that we're going to move in the right direction. And I think, and I've since been on council for about a month, I know that all, including myself, all 7 of us are interested in moving, Texas Parkway and Cartwright in the right direction. But, do we have the answers? No. So we want to hear from our public. We want to hear from our residents who are, paying taxes in the city, to give us that guidance or to give us that suggestions as to what they think that would look better. And that's how I think, overall for Texas Parkway and Cartwright, I think we win that way when you have your communities involved. They're working well with staff, and then they're working with planning and zoning and city council. It's going to take all of us. It's going to take every single one of us to get things on Texas Parkway and Cartwright to make it look the way that people are imagining. That imagination is what, we don't know what that is, what that is going to look like. I was on election campaign and people were talking about they want, HEB back, they want a boardwalk, they want entertainment, and they want mixed use. They don't want apartments, but they want condos, high-end condos. I mean, and these are all great suggestions. As a candidate, or now as a mayor, I can't tell, prospective developers and builders what I want. But I am willing to tell them with our city council, here's a suggestion from our citizens of what they're looking for, because there's a lot of things that are being, that are being pushed forward. Great projects. I've seen some of them. Unfortunately, I can't share what they are, but I would want those things to be looked at by this committee. Mm-hmm. So the role of this committee is just as important as any other committee that we have here. I think, they're going to be excited, and we want to put some good people with some good thoughts, that works in all type of capacity, right? Not just politics. They're working maybe in a retail store or they're in an HOA. I mean, there's no requirements that they need to be in an HOA, but they are stakeholders. They're sort of our partners that's coming in. So a variety of input from the residents. I think that will help to give that push to exactly what we were wanting. So definitely in the coming 2 years, we want to, look at city council. We have our strategic plans, goals that are coming up. So as all of this will tie perfectly into, the vision for Texas Parkway corridor. And I know there's been things that studies or there's been options that we looked at, from previous council, previous mayors, and which is all great. But for me, I think, and for this council that we have in place today, it's really to identify and put them in place. Mm-hmm. And that's the real goal of this committee. This is going to be inclusive to everyone, including everyone. We have so many people on table that is going to do what's right for the city. And when it's all said and done, we don't want it to come back out from the community as to what did they just do. Mm-hmm. So it should be where everyone is going to know what's being proposed and what's being put out there, and people are going to be excited to see it come up, and then see it filled with mixed-use retail stores, storefronts, something that coffee shops, and I'm just throwing things out there that people can sit out there and enjoy, and what Texas Parkway would look like, what it should look like. Because I think two of the major corridors for Missouri City are Highway 6 and Texas Parkway, if you look at Missouri City. So you have Texas Parkway. The advantage is that you have, on one side, you have Texas Parkway that ends at Fort Toll Road. And then on the opposite side is Gessner. It turns into Gessner and Beltway. So you have, it's going to be a busy corridor now, especially now with Amazon coming off of Fort Toll Road, and some of that tract of land that we can use for mixed use as well. So how do we tie all of this into making and using Texas Parkway as a center point to make it all work, I think is the goal.
Is there anything else you would like to tell Missouri City about the committee?
Basically, what I want to tell everyone is this is the first step, right? Rome is not built in one day. It takes time. Be patient with us. But what I want to tell them is that, the city council has their interest, and that interest is one of the highest and toppest priority, is what I'm hearing from all others that are on council. So, rest assured that it will happen. I think, everybody was excited with this committee being formed. And just like some other cities, we want to make sure that the investments that we do, any investments that the city do, that city is putting out there, we're not losing any money. So there's so many checks and balances in place, right? So this was gone through the committee, and then planning and zoning, and then staff, and then council members. So everybody knows what are the dollars that we're spending, where are we spending, what are we getting for it. So, at the end of the day, whether it's through, through partnership or not, everybody is on page as to that these are taxpayers' money, that if we contribute to it, what's that's being spent for and how it's being spent. So I think the transparency key is one of the components here. I think is one of the biggest component that I think that people want to know. Then the second piece is what are we doing? What's coming up here? And three, does it benefit us as a resident? So I think all those three key elements are what we can put together, and package it to people. So this way that the rest of the citizens in Missouri City understands that, this is done through several different people looked at this. And if it's a thumbs up, if once the final, everything is on final, and then the citizens, get to come in and walk through this whole process, and it's good to go. And then we're just basically looking at how it's being built out. And those committees, 2 years, and they can be extended, if they can reapply again to, just like our planning and zoning, as well as any of the other boards and commissions, they can keep reapplying it, or new people can come in. So we have stakeholders that's in the game. And I think, I'm excited about this. Like I've told people, this is really a first step, and it's going to be and that's going to be in place moving forward. Whether any of us on council is here or not, I think that committee will move forward to make sure that some of these works, there's continuum, right? Continuum, it's like saying continuum care, you're saying continuum of process that's in place, which I think ultimately, definitely at the end of the day, I think it'll do good, it'll do best for Missouri City.
Thank you for watching. Please visit and subscribe to the city's official communications outlets for more information. We'll see you next time.